So the classic was Hogwood and Gone, Thomas died. All of those were the classic, those were the early. But you could take a little overview and see how far the early moved to the new now. What is new?
And see whether you get, because it's a Caribbean page, to see what anybody in the Caribbean has written.
Well, you come up with that done.
Just see what is happening out there, see what the Caribbean people think.
Challenges in implementation in turbo society.
Yeah.
Those kinds of things.
And things, and see what shows up.
Leadership in public sector organizations. Those kinds of things point yourself to. Okay? Civil society engagement and the public sector. Those kind of keywords used. Because that is the way your literature is going to go. New trends in implementing policies in the public sector. That kind of search word use.
Sometimes you get the PDFs that really current, and when you go to the bibliography to the back, you get nice articles, nice books. So you must look at that part of it. And that really helped me a lot. I go into people's reference in the back of the articles.
Which is very useful.
Which is really useful because the articles are current and their readings are current. So
now I know Professor Watson is saying that I should give you the directive readings. But why should I give you directive reading when so many things
come to do research too.
I shouldn't direct you and say, I want you to read this A, B, and C. I want you to read because the thing about it, you're going to use these readings now for your review. So you should be telling me what you feel. But for the purpose of finishing the directive readings, I need to see that you covered the body of that line. Alright? And it doesn't necessarily mean you sit down and you write down the academic review of the literature. You could say the book and you give the total references, and then you could say, this was the main theme covered in this book, A, B, C, and D, whatever. Alright? And that will be a little summary probably or synopsis of the article. That will serve for the purpose of finishing this leg of your PhD.
And if I had that concept of it, I could have been well on my way because
you have been reading.
I've been reading, but I've not been writing. It was only during this week in this online course that I decided, well, this paper would be relevant. Let me just pull out from this page. There are 5 or 6 bullets. I just cut and paste into a Word document. So I could very well have been doing that.
You could do.
I think that's a mistake a lot of people make.
I think when you first started off,
you made the same mistake.
She thought I wanted her to write a review of the academic literature. This is not necessary at this stage. This stage is to gel. The most important thing at this stage is what you have done. That you gel your thoughts together. You know now what you want to do. You're very, very clear with the plan. So clear in your mind that I don't have to say anything more to you. And then you're now going to do some initial reading to show me that I have read, I have satisfied this thing. And then as soon as you finish that, you start your introduction. Let's go.
But another problem is there too, the minute you start reading something, reference it. You reference it in start to build. In your bibliographic reference.
No, in that regard I've been doing well because in my proposal you would have seen at the end the 2 sets of things.
Do the things properly. As soon as you start doing the introduction, start doing your footnotes. Make sure it's comprehensive footnotes. So you don't have to lose. Now, one of the things is nobody told me that when I was doing my PhD and I had to go back and search
you're doing the same thing
over and over. If you do it properly first time, you don't have any problems.
Well, I'm not using footnotes, I'm using endnotes.
Use footnotes. Use footnotes.
Okay. Because
the footnote is close to the page, so the reader will see that you're doing footnotes.
okay. The way I'm referencing, I'm using this tool called EndNote. And what it does, while you're doing the text, it has the author name and the year.
No, I know, but use the footnote function for it. The footnote, all you do instead of EndNote, use footnote.
Okay.
Look on and search.
I have 2 laptops. This one has the newer laptop has the previous the UE, the one UE has a license for, and this has version X6. I think that one is X7. This one is X6. I have yet to figure out how to get them to talk to the cloud, so I get stuff that's here onto there because this laptop is going to die. It's dying.
So the footnote function is where you
Well, it's like quick, and then it does the like it actually has a latest version of Chicago manual on it. So you basically just have to put it in and
But
it does
just-
everything.
and you get it
That's
in.
right, yeah.
What
And
It has the latest version of Chicago.
you can reformat, you can redo, you can choose how it renders whichever format you want. So there's a whole bunch of others, Chicago A and B, as well as others, right?
Yeah.
So I could get that on my computer?
But
They will have
UP has a license
Oh, yes.
for all staff and students.
Okay, so it's money I could
So
do.
if you have a laptop, you take it to IT and you're supposed to put it in for you.
Character Manham.
Oh, yeah, it's supposed to
They
be.
have to because they
You
have
put
to
it in for
the key
you
and
and
the key and they will
Right. So
if you have a pin.
it took me over a year to get the current version. When I went to SITS, when I first signed up UWI, they gave me version 4, which was not the current version at the time. It took a whole year for me to find out that there was newer versions. So they installed version 6 here, by which time I discovered that UWI had already bought licenses for version 17, sorry. It was version 14, 16, 17.
But that will solve all my problems.
Yeah, because they have to put in and
But it's not automatic. You still have to do the work. You still have to put in the information.
Yeah, but you
What
don't
it
tell
does.
what
You put in the information.
Yeah,
and
but
it
what it does
goes
is
in.
Yeah,
they
but
will
you
make
don't have to redo it.
No, but I
Yeah.
think the commas and the full stuff.
No, it does that.
That is what I
Yeah.
did. Yeah. So I will do that. So you all right? Any other questions? Yeah.
I think that's it for the time being.
Excellent, Ms. Alvarez, you're all right. You're all right. You want to go? You want to go? Come now. Yeah.
Okay.
Let me see your face, then, man. No, but I will get Mr. Supu to do.
Yeah.
Marlene, you have it?
I think, yeah, because I bought a desktop recently and they put in all the programs and
Okay, let's see how you're going.
Let me tell you what I did first.
Go through your proposal again with me. Let's see how you
I
can.
changed it, but I want to ask you something first. Now, I had improving leadership in public service, the role of the permanent secretary in obtaining good governance in developing countries, and analysis of the situation of Trinidad and Tobago and Barbados, right?
And where? Barbados?
Barbados, yeah.
No, one thing you have to do,
trying to
one thing you have to do, you have to tell, when you go for the defense, they'll ask you why you select the countries you selected. Remember, the back of your mind, everything you do has to be justified, right?
But I changed. I don't know tell me if I'm supposed to stick with this or stay or come with this. I have demonstrated courageous leadership in the public service.
What is the difference? You have to tell us the difference. And tell us your proposal and how you're going to handle it.
Well,
Demonstrating courageous leadership
right now,
in the public service.
what I realize is that while permanent secretaries may know, some of them may know they may have a knowledge of the rules and whatever, some of them are scared
To put it in place.
to effect it. So a minister might ask you to do something and you go and you do it. As you notice, there are now instances of people, like for instance, the Attorney General's office, you're not focusing on permanent secretary as the accounting officer. That's why that happened. And but they have other instances. So I realize it's a question of courage. How do I really stand up and fall up on the roof?
You're using the word courage.
Should I?
I'm thinking. Let me hear how you'll develop it.
No. I
Go through your plan. Go through your plan.
I define the terms, and you have courage just as possessing or characterized by courage, brave, right? I'm using that example. In terms of leadership, I have leadership is caring more about the cause and the people in your company than about your own personal pain and success. It is about having a greater vision of where your company is trying to go while leaving the path open for others to grow into leaders, right? In permanent secretary, I have the non-political administrative head of a government ministry in Trinidad and Tobago. That person holds the most senior civil service position in the ministry and is the accounting officer of that agency. For governance, I have the process of decision making and the process by which decisions are implemented or not implemented. That's a UN definition. For good governance, according again to UNSCA for Asia Pacific, good governance has 8 major characteristics. It is participatory, consensus-oriented, accountable, transparent, responsive, effective, and efficient. equitable and inclusive and follows the rule of law.
Okay. No, you know, Ali Farasman has something called some governance, right?
Sound
Ali Farasman.
ALI.
ALI, yes, Farasman. FARZMAN. Some governance.
No.
No, let me see, tell me how your thesis, how you see your thesis developing. You're using the word courageous, you give my definition of courageous. Let me hear how your thesis is developing. What is your hypothesis?
My hypothesis is I have two leadership questions. It's like I have does leadership impact governance?
Impact on.
Impact on.
But then you see, you gave me the elements of governance. If you go broadly with governance, it's all those elements, 8 elements, I think. I think you need to look at, because it's a smaller thesis, because you're taking out a small bite, you have to look at 2 elements or 2 aspects of governance. You see, what you have to do is test now whether what you see as now calling leadership, which is formally administration, whether it really makes a difference in terms of how the organization will work in promoting governance. So you have to take out 2 elements of that and try to prove it.
But what my answer is why take out 2 as opposed to all?
Because if you go with all, you'll never finish. You never could test all. You never, because you remember your PhDs are in-depth study rather than a broader study. So you need to take out 2 elements or 3 elements. Because remember, if you're doing Barbados and you're doing Trinidad, you're broad there, you know. You need to explain, when you see the difference between them and the similarity, to explain why that is happening, which is a whole big component of your thesis. So if you go with all these governance indicators, man, you'll be writing about 4 theses.
So I go with transparent, I can go with accountable, I can choose.
You could choose to. Now choose what you could prove.
Right.
So in terms of accountability, what you could have to buffer you in terms of accountability is your Auditor General's reports.
Right.
And your joint select committees of Parliament. So right away I see accountability being really critical for you to prove. Now you could pull out 1, eh? You didn't have to take 2.
So can I go like that and say, does leadership impact accountability in governance?
Yeah. Is it that leadership promotes good leadership or effective leadership, promote improved accountability in governance, for governance?
For some government, I like this some government, you need to probably read up and change good governance now to some governance. Yeah, so you probably need to read it on that part.
So accountability will be a broad thing, because then another thing you'll ask yourself when you're doing your thesis, well, what is my time? No, he defines his time period because he could test it in the period 2003 to 2008. What period are you looking at?
But I was, let me tell you what I did.
Because new public management going to come in your thesis, you know.
Right, but what?
New public management, a discussion is going to come in as a chapter in your thesis.
Well, let me tell you something. What I had for the time period, I had the 3rd year awards.
Which is
right?
when?
For each government. Each government still, the 3rd year.
Good governance didn't come in until 1990 as a term.
Until
1990 didn't. And then here,
1998?
1990. In worldwide it came in 1990, the term started being used. But then, here we had the reform starting in new public management reform didn't start here until, when new public management was arrived in the public service here?
91, was it under the Andre?
No, he didn't bring in new public.
He did
The
a study.
study.
And he had started roughly, that would have been in the 90s.
Late 90s.
Because 95 was already put in.
90, modernizing government, when modernizing government, that paper came through.
I'll check that.
That's what under 90. That was in 2011.
It had to have been after 95.
It had to be after 95.
I was under Drake. I worked under Drake, and there was administrative reform reform.
Reform was like
It didn't come into play. I went to Jamaica to study public sector management, and in my studies, they threw a lot of new stuff at us, but that phrase wasn't among the literature I had to cover.
So it has to be
Late
in the
1990s.
Yeah.
Although in 1986, report was bringing in public managers free to manage and things to it.
There were concepts that seemed
There were
parallel,
concepts.
but the
But the actual
the phrase,
We did not really shift to new public management until the 90s, late 90s.
And I think so, because
Yeah.
I mean, even when I came in 2006, they were still trying. Our ministry was.
No, but there is a point when they did shift, when they started talking about human resource management.
When they started
that did start
changing
earlier.
names.
That started when I was in one.
That was Draper.
Right.
That was Draper. That was a change of
Changing
name.
names.
But they weren't referring to they were referring to managers, not leaders at that point.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think some components came in, but afterwards, when we started seeing,
It was packaged. It would have been packaged later and bundled and given a
that's
brand
right,
name.
but what year? That's the year we have to look at. What is the year they introduced new public management principle? Because I see in one of your chapter going to be the movement, the reforms that took place, and the movement from administration to management, new public management.
Although the components were very similar, that's what makes it hard.
You know,
And the
if I
changes
hear
were
about it,
similar, you flow into it.
you know, the funny about it is that there was always discussion worldwide, true in fact. There's no human resource management in the public service.
Well, I know that, but we're using it too. Because if you haven't changed the legislation, you as a lawyer,
can't
know that.
change, yeah.
You
But
can't.
the whole attitude and approach to how
Culture.
things, it's not changing.
But for your purposes, for your study, you
Yeah.
need to find a timeline when you're saying, okay, I am going to look at the period so and so to so and so. Because one of your whole chapters, and it's an easy chapter to do, is a change from traditional public administration to new public
Sure,
management.
so look at the, as a component to help guide in terms of the period when they started looking at whole human system. Because all of that will be part of the reforms in terms of staff reporting to
Yeah.
all of that.
So we'll have to look at the admin reform period and
Yeah.
bring it up.
Yeah.
And bring it up. So
And then
When
1990s.
they change, yeah.
From staff reporting to the PMAS. As
I'm
a
not that
post.
That happened in, I'm not telling you what you know.
I was in the ministry when that happened.
I don't know what it's
Yeah, I was in CPO when that happened.
That happened in 19...
I moved in
1996.
1990. I moved in 1994.
because I'm thinking about a pink book.
Yeah,
can
it
go-
was 95, 96.
Yeah, I moved in 94 and the concept was there.
Yeah, and I remember the pink book, everybody has
Yeah.
Everybody has a opinion.
I'm trying to remember the date, the publication date on it, and I think it is 96.
Yeah, somewhere around it.
So you have to find, I mean, you could find that the timeline when this thing really took place. And when they started talking, they're using the word governance. Now then, another thing I'll ask, is that you can't do all ministries.
Yeah, true. I have not still like it, but I'll tell you what has been a development. I have been able to get some retired permanent secretaries to agree to have a focus group meeting with me in next month.
Good.
So,
But you need to know to have set questions to ask.
yeah.
She could film it. Or record it.
You could record, if you're
I
recording,
wouldn't record it, but it wouldn't be free to talk what I wanted to talk.
In terms of the recording.
I wouldn't record it.
No, in terms of you recording what they say and have somebody help you in terms of recording what
No,
you
I don't want to record.
Why do you think you couldn't speak freely?
on tape.
Because I know, you see, I have a few women that do talk freely to me about some things,
Right.
but they will not talk freely
On
if I tape it.
But then how do you transfer that?
She's going to
Because
that's
the real pertinent part is what you don't want to
no,
record.
she could put,
Somebody
she
else.
could blank it in terms of interview subjects.
Yeah. But in terms of just in terms of your own
Because it's only for your, it's for
Although, if you could interview suggest, you have to, at the PhD level, you
Have to
have
write
to
up.
interview with who.
I was saying, but number will be a group of that.
No, but you have to record it for
You have to record it.
so you look at the methodology in terms of bibliography. You have to see
You have to say who's
You
there.
know, I will say who the people are,
Yeah.
but
You're not
who
gonna put
say
everything.
what?
You're not going to be
Oh,
asked.
okay. But I just want to say, in terms of suggestion, like if you're going to interview them, I would recommend that you do have somebody else taking notes with you, just in case you don't miss.
I would have recorded it.
Yeah, I take, like,
You know
when
what? I'll tell you
research, I
something.
take everything.
When these people dead,
Yeah.
you may be the only one with that.
Tacit knowledge.
Yeah, and there are lots of things I think
And
I
some people are much more open now because they understand the nature of it.
I find when they're retired, they don't care.
And
No, my
no, but sometimes people
my
want to be
immediate-
heard.
no, my immediate question to you is what you see as courageous leadership. Is it when you're using the data that you're getting from the audit reports and the joint select committee reports, which report some problems in terms of accountability? Are you going to suggest then, okay, I'm looking, so that will inform ministries you select. Are you going to say, because I saw all this thing went wrong, this does not constitute courageous leadership?
No, one point is that the rules are there, so why aren't you following the rules? Why aren't you standing up and saying, these are the rules, I am not doing X, Y,
Yeah, but
Z."
you see, you have to prove that.
Prove what?
You have to prove. You see the thing about it, you're not going to write on the top of your head that there's rules there. You say we're going to use audit report and we're going to use the joint select committee report, which is going to indicate, well, in
But the
terms of
problem is-
accountability, this happened, you purchased this overrun, what. How are you now going to suggest that this ministry had courageous leadership? This one didn't.
But as you see, I would want to get like there are some permanent secretaries who will have very, very little, well, quote unquote, complaints or issues in the auditor general report. And then there are those again that have lots of
But
problems
is
for
it-
that particular period.
Then your intervening variable, is it that the minister in one ministry more corrupt than the other? Is it that they have less funds? Is it that they have...
What's the criteria you're going to use
What is
to
the
measure
criteria?
courageous?
You have to measure that courageous.
I'm
Those are things that they, in your defense, they'll ask you.
I'm
So
very
you
sad.
say you want to look at courageous leadership. You're using the Auditor General of these documents. So you see some ministries had no adverse comments. Is it that you're saying this is courageous leadership?
Of course.
Or is it that they didn't have certain kind of intervening variables, like the nature of the ministry, the amount they had to spend, the resources, the minister themselves, political interference? How are you going to control those variables? You tell me. So ministry A didn't have any adverse comment, ministry B had adverse comment. It can be equal.
So it brings to
You
me,
get-
my thinking.
Well, you understand what I'm saying, Wendy?
That, I think, you see that word?
Courageous, even though
Yeah. No, it comes back to what you said, Farrellsman. What about sound leadership? So you need to read up and change that word. I understand where you're going with it. But everybody
It's a
will
leading
define
word.
it is a
It's a
subjective
leading
word. It's
How
a
do you
leading
define
word.
it? You have to
So,
define it.
whereas you have the new buzzword, you call sound governance, tie it in with your leadership.
Yeah, I think Marty kind of correct.
So
Yeah.
if you were courageous.
courageous.
Leave all the word courageous.
Yeah, that word too.
That is why I have any problem.
Yeah, that word.
So what do I go back to improving leadership in the public
No. Stay with the second one. But
With demonstrating
sound.
sound.
In
And
terms of
find the article, find the readings on with Farrellsman and tie in that same
And then you're
approach.
looking at accountability. But you're saying, so this ministry
Sound.
had so much of criticism. This ministry didn't have criticism. I did interviews and I found out A, B, C, and D were the
Yes,
challenges.
it gives it more weight in it, gives it a much more direct focus.
Not only that,
Clarity.
it means that I could prove what I say.
Yes.
Like I didn't use the word courageous. I'm not
Courageous.
like courageous. But I'm saying this ministry had criticism. These ministry had criticism. These didn't. I did my interviews, I did my focus group. And these are what these people say were challenges in some ministries. And these were how people say they handled it. Now, the same courageous thing coming back for you,
Yeah.
but it's because you use the word sound, gives it a different kind of
I
sound.
have two questions. In terms of literature, have you come across any new terminology or any new ways and adjectives for your narrative in terms of leadership? Is there anything
As a matter of fact,
Yeah.
courageous leadership.
So, no, it is in literature then?
It is in the literature, but in terms of business models, not in terms of government.
Yeah, private sector.
But in terms of the definition of,
But there is a definition.
there's a definition, we don't have it, but I think there's a definition for courageous
No,
leadership.
because I could understand where you're wanting to use the term, and I do agree, because when you present automatically you think it's subjective, but if you can back it up, and then there is a body of literature, there's a song going on.
What song better?
But
Song.
If she has to prove,
This
she
is
has to prove.
But
Song is better to prove.
well, this is that's
But it works with courageous in the body of the.
You could use
exactly.
You could use
But
that.
You
don't
could
use
anything. Don't use a word that colors.
yeah, because it's subjective.
So what's a song leader? What characterizes a song leader? So what is song
Or
leadership?
what is effective leadership for song governance?
Song
effective
governance.
leadership.
So
But some-
But you can also put into the literature in your own pieces. This is what I found. It is something courageous leadership. This is something.
No, leave the word courageous.
No,
Yeah,
in terms of the
out.
literature.
Leave it
You
out.
shouldn't even mention
Leave it
it.
out. No, because once you start leading,
No, but
you see, you can't mix your two.
But
Because
no,
you will
this is
lose,
what
because
I'm
when
gonna
you're presenting, you'll get
No, this
confused.
is what I'm going to ask. In terms of her literature review, she's saying that she found it, but we are telling her to stay away from that.
How many times you found?
This is it. That's how I want to get at. Is it that it's really a
No, but you see, the thing about once you go with that term, if you're using effective leadership, use effective leadership too. Don't confuse your terms. Because remember what the reader could do, the examiner could do. They could start looking at your introduction. And then they find your introduction reading good, they just jump into your review of the literature. Then jump into your discussion, they could jump to your conclusion. Remember that's how examiners sometimes read. It must flow, it must have consistency throughout that book.
I know this is to get the point.
Yeah.
Focus group. In terms of this, these people that are comfortable talking in front of each other, right?
Yeah, you see, and some of them, I think they've retired almost about 10 years now.
Also, they
I have a feeling you get more
Individually, right?
individually.
But if it
No, they're more or less, and this, the people that I'm talking to, they're,
But what that would also need to be the period she looks at.
That's a period.
Yeah, so, no, in terms of the people interviewing who have retired, let's say, average 10 years ago, that determines the period that she looks at.
some about 10, some about 5.
No, but it could be interesting because then we'll say, well, a long time you didn't have
Yeah,
this.
you have
So-
that
Exactly.
You know, let me tell you something,
That's
your
right.
thesis cannot be cast in stone, Sometimes you go out there and when you do the research, that whole introduction will change because of your findings.
Yeah.
You know, and that whole body has to change, to twist to suit it. And I've seen that happen in my thesis, where I start off with the presumption A. By the time I get the data and the raw data come out and I start analyzing, I have to change my focus to really see what was happening there. And that is what makes a thesis so really exciting. Your thing, I could see a chapter whole on reform and new public management. I could see a whole chapter on governance and what is the elements of governance. I could see a whole chapter when you finish, pull your data together in Barbados and Trinidad. What accounts for leadership being better in this one than that one? And then you'll come on dimensions like culture and politics. And to me, that would bring it in and you'll carry it. And that would be a wonderful thing to do. So you're actually proving something but in a different way.
That is very funny.
What?
I'd like to read it. No, in terms of the
No,
different
no,
ministries. I'm excited.
It's a book. It's a book that could
Yeah.
be done. It's articles that could be done on each
Yeah.
dimension, but I could see it developing in my
Yeah, it's
mind.
something very exciting because if we do have a course, of leadership in the public service, there's something.
So I could develop your thesis nicely. I could write that thesis.
That's what it's a course.
That's a beautiful thesis, as I said. It hasn't been done.
I'm excited. Please interview my ministry.
What do you think will be a challenge? Tell me. You're seeming a little bit.
You know, I don't challenges, so I really slap me in the face and realize the challenges.
And you will enjoy your challenges.
I really do.
But you could see your thesis developing along those lines. I could see it. I could see it to be very, very good reading.
So Mike, well, I have changed my well, not really, not much. In terms of the hypothesis, does effective leadership promote sound governance? Now, another thing, what I discovered when I was looking at, I first had the role of the program secretary in obtaining the governance and developing countries.
Which is
Yeah.
which is the same thing in a way.
No, well, I'm going to tell you what I changed to.